8-year-old Laila Ali ran across the hot Miami beach concrete, her flip-flops slapping against the ground, her pink swimsuit bright against her brown skin. It was July 1973, and she was so excited she could barely contain herself. The hotel pool stretched out before her, crystal blue water sparkling in the Florida sun, other children laughing and splashing, the smell of chlorine and sunscreen mixing in the humid air. "Daddy, look how big it is," she called back to Muhammad Ali, who was still in the hotel room gathering towels. But Layla couldn't wait. She'd been looking forward to this pool all morning. They were in Miami Beach for her father's upcoming fight, staying at the Fontainebleau Hotel, one of the most prestigious resorts in Florida. And this pool, this beautiful, enormous pool, was calling to her. She reached the edge and was about to jump in when a hand grabbed her shoulder. Before we continue with the story, you can support us by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Don't forget to write in the comments where you're watching from and how old you are. Let's continue. "Whoa there, sweetie. Hold on just a second." Layla turned to see a man in a white polo shirt with the hotel logo embroidered on the chest. His name tag read, Richard Morrison, pool manager. He was smiling, but something about the smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm going swimming," Layla said, pointing at the pool where at least 20 other children were playing. "My daddy said I could." "I'm sure he did, honey, but I need to talk to your parents first." "Is your daddy here?" "He's coming." "Can I swim now? Please." Morrison's smile tightened. "Sweetie, why don't you wait over here for a minute?" He gestured to a shaded area away from the pool. Let's wait for your daddy, okay?" Layla looked at the pool, then at Morrison, then at the other children splashing and playing. She didn't understand. What was wrong? Why couldn't she swim? Around the pool deck, other parents were beginning to notice the interaction. Some kept their eyes carefully on their own children. Others watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to discomfort to something that looked like recognition, like they'd seen this scene before and knew exactly what was happening. A white woman in her 40s, lounging on a chair nearby with a magazine, called out, "Richard, is there a problem?" "No problem, Mrs. Henderson. Just checking on guest credentials." "Guest credentials?" The woman sat up. "She's a child. What credentials does a child need to swim in a hotel pool?" Morrison's face flushed. "Ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but I'm just following hotel policy." "What policy?" Another parent joined in, a man in swim trunks with 2 kids of his own in the pool. "My kids didn't need credentials. They just jumped right in." Layla stood there, confused, feeling all the adult eyes on her. She didn't understand what was happening, but she understood the feeling. The feeling of not being wanted, of being different, of something being wrong with her, even though she didn't know what. Her eyes started to well up with tears. And that's when Muhammad Ali walked out of the hotel and saw his daughter standing by the pool, crying, with the hotel manager's hand on her shoulder and a crowd of adults staring. What happened next would make national headlines. It would force one of Miami Beach's most prestigious hotels to confront truths about who they welcomed and who they didn't. It would turn a sunny afternoon at a pool into a moment that exposed the ugliest parts of American hospitality. But in this moment, Ali only saw one thing: his 8-year-old daughter crying because someone was keeping her from swimming, and that someone was about to learn that there are some men you don't want to anger. And Muhammad Ali, when it came to his children, was at the top of that list. Richard Morrison had been the pool manager at the Fontainebleau for 11 years. He'd seen a lot in that time: celebrities, politicians, wealthy families from around the world. The Fontainebleau prided itself on exclusivity, on maintaining certain standards, on being the kind of place where the right people felt comfortable. And when Morrison saw the little black girl running toward the pool, he'd made a calculation. A quick, practiced calculation born from 11 years of unwritten rules, subtle signals, and the understanding that his job was to maintain the pool's atmosphere, to keep things comfortable for the guests who expected a certain kind of environment. He'd done this before. Not often. Most black families knew better than to try using the pool, but occasionally. Usually it was simple. Pull the parents aside quietly. Mention that this section of the pool was for registered premium guests only. Suggest the public beach down the road. Most people got the message. Most people left. But he hadn't counted on the little girl being so excited. So obviously, heartbreakingly excited. And he hadn't counted on other parents watching. And he definitely hadn't counted on that little girl being Muhammad Ali's daughter. "Sir," Morrison said as Ali approached, his voice taking on that professional hospitality tone, "I was just explaining to your daughter that we need to verify her guest status before." Before what? Ali's voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. He walked straight to Layla, knelt down in front of her. "Baby, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" "Hey, you won't let me swim, Daddy." Layla wiped her eyes. "I don't know why. I was going to jump in, and he stopped me. Did I do something wrong?" Ali's jaw tightened. He looked up at Morrison with an expression that made several nearby parents take a step back, because they recognized that look. They'd seen it in the ring, right before Ali unleashed combinations that ended fights. "Why won't you let my daughter swim?" Ali asked, standing up to his full 6'3" height. "Sir, it's just hotel policy. We need to verify that guests have proper access to the pool facilities. If you could just show me your room key." "My room key." Ali pulled out his key card, held it up. "Room 847. Presidential suite. Booked for 2 weeks. Paid in full. Now, let my daughter swim." Morrison looked at the key card. Presidential suite. That complicated things. "Sir, there may have been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Ali said, his voice rising now, carrying across the pool deck, "is you thinking you can stop my 8-year-old daughter from swimming in a pool at a hotel where I'm a paying guest. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Why can't my daughter swim?" The pool deck had gone quiet. Children stopped splashing. Parents stopped talking. Everyone was watching now. Watching a hotel manager squirm. Watching Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world, demanding to know why his daughter couldn't swim. Mrs. Henderson, the woman who'd spoken up earlier, stood up. "Richard, I've been coming to this hotel for 15 years. My children have been swimming in this pool for 15 years. And never once have you asked me to verify guest credentials. So why are you asking him?" Morrison's face went red. "Ma'am, I don't think you understand the situation." "I understand perfectly," she said. "You stopped that little girl from swimming because she's black. That's what's happening here. That's what we're all watching. That's not. I would never. Hotel policy states." Morrison was stammering now, trapped. Ali knelt down in front of Layla again. "Baby, look at me. You didn't do anything wrong. You understand? Nothing. This man," he gestured at Morrison, "he's the one who did something wrong. Not you. Never you." He stood back up, addressing not just Morrison but the entire pool deck now. "My daughter is 8 years old. She just wanted to swim. She saw other kids playing, and she wanted to join them. Because that's what children do. They play. They swim. They don't see color or status or who belongs where. They just see other kids and water and fun." Ali's voice grew stronger. But this man saw something different. He saw a black child approaching a pool full of white children, and he made a choice. He decided that she didn't belong here, that she needed to be stopped, that she needed credentials. He looked at Morrison. "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell everyone here that if my daughter was white, you would have stopped her and demanded to see credentials. Tell us that you stop every child who approaches this pool and verifies their guest status." Morrison said nothing, because there was nothing he could say. Everyone on that pool deck knew the truth. The silence stretched. Then a man in his 50s, white, wealthy-looking, with that Miami Beach tan that comes from winter homes and country clubs, stood up from his lounge chair. "I need to say something," the man said. His voice carried authority, the kind that comes from being used to people listening. "My name is William Patterson. I've been a member of this hotel's club for 23 years, and I've watched Richard Morrison manage this pool for at least a decade." He looked at Morrison. "I've never, not once, seen you stop a white child and ask for credentials. Not once. I've seen kids run from the beach straight to this pool without their parents. I've seen teenagers sneak in from other hotels. I've seen chaos and rule-breaking and everything in between. And I've never seen you stop a white child." Patterson turned to Ali. "Mr. Ali, I apologize. On behalf of the decent people at this hotel, I apologize. Your daughter should be swimming. She should have been swimming 10 minutes ago. And the fact that she's standing there crying because of discrimination in 1973 at a pool in front of all these children. That's shameful. That's absolutely shameful. Morrison found his voice. Mr. Patterson, I don't think you understand the full context. The context is clear, Patterson interrupted. A child wanted to swim. You stopped her because she's black. That's the context. But not everyone agreed. Another man, younger, standing near his own children, spoke up. Now hold on. This is a private hotel. They have a right to set policies about who uses their facilities. If Mr. Morrison says there are credential requirements. For an 8-year-old, Mrs. Henderson's voice was sharp. You're defending asking an 8-year-old child for credentials to use a pool at a hotel where her father has a presidential suite? I'm saying private establishments have rights. To discriminate? Patterson cut in. Is that the right you're defending? The pool deck was dividing. Some parents were gathering their children, uncomfortable with the confrontation. Others were moving closer, taking sides. A few were filming with cameras, home movie cameras, the kind that would develop later into evidence. And the children, all the children, were watching their parents choose. Choose what kind of people they wanted to be. Choose what values they wanted to model. Layla stood next to her father, holding his hand, watching all these adults argue about whether she should be allowed to swim. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood the feeling. She understood that she was different, that her skin made her different, and that difference made some people not want her around. Ali felt her hand tighten in his, and when he looked down and saw the confusion and hurt in his daughter's eyes, something broke inside him. Not anger. He'd deal with anger later, but something deeper. The recognition that no matter what he accomplished, no matter how famous he became, no matter how many titles he won, his children would still face this, would still be judged by their skin, would still be made to feel less than. He picked Layla up, held her close. Baby, we're going to swim. You and me. Right now. But Daddy, no buts. You wanted to swim. So we're swimming. He walked toward the pool. Morrison stepped in front of him. Sir, I can't allow. Move. Ali's voice was low, final. Move, or I will move you. My daughter wants to swim. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you, that nothing you can say or do is going to stop her. Morrison looked at Ali, at this man who'd fought the toughest opponents in the world, who'd stood up to the U.S. government, who'd never backed down from anything and made a choice. He stepped aside. Muhammad Ali walked to the edge of the pool, still holding Layla, and jumped in fully clothed. The splash was enormous. Children screamed with delight. And when Ali and Layla surfaced, laughing, water streaming down their faces, something shifted on that pool deck. Some parents cheered. Some looked away. But all of them understood that they'd just witnessed something important. Not fight, not violence, but resistance. The simple, powerful act of a father and daughter swimming in a pool they had every right to use. Someone at the hotel had called the press. By the time Ali and Layla climbed out of the pool 45 minutes later, after playing with several other children whose parents had decided to let them swim with Layla after races and diving contests and all the things children do in pools, there were reporters and cameras waiting in the hotel lobby. Mr. Ali, is it true your daughter was denied access to the hotel pool? Ali, still dripping water, Layla wrapped in a towel beside him, stopped. He could have walked past, could have said no comment, could have let it go. But he thought about Layla's face, about the confusion and hurt, about the question she'd asked, did I do something wrong? About all the other black children who'd been asked that question, who'd internalized that question, who'd grown up thinking something was wrong with them, instead of understanding that something was wrong with the people who made them feel that way. Yes, Ali said. My 8-year-old daughter, who just wanted to swim, was stopped by the pool manager and told she needed credentials. No other child was stopped. No other child was questioned. Just mine. Just a black child. What did you do? I did what any father would do. I took my daughter swimming. Because she has every right to use that pool. Every right. And no hotel manager's prejudice is going to take that away from her. The hotel claims it was a misunderstanding about guest verification. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Ali interrupted. It was discrimination. Clear, simple discrimination. And you know what the worst part is? It wasn't happening in some segregated town in Alabama in 1955. It was happening at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach in 1973, at one of the most prestigious hotels in America. To a child, that's what we're still dealing with. That's what my daughter had to experience today. The reporters wrote furiously. The cameras captured everything. And by that evening, the story was on every news channel. Muhammad Ali's daughter denied pool access at Fontainebleau Hotel. The Fontainebleau Hotel's management tried damage control. They claimed it was a misunderstanding, that Richard Morrison had simply been following standard procedures for guest verification. They expressed regret for any confusion or discomfort. But the guests who'd been there, the witnesses, weren't letting that narrative stand. William Patterson wrote a letter to the Miami Herald describing exactly what he'd seen. Mrs. Henderson gave an interview detailing Morrison's behavior. Other guests came forward with their own stories of seeing black families turned away from the pool over the years, always with some excuse about credentials or capacity or private sections. The NAACP got involved. They filed a formal complaint. They began investigating the hotel's patterns and practices regarding black guests. And what they found was damning. The Fontainebleau, like many Miami Beach hotels, had unwritten policies about pool access. Black guests were technically allowed to book rooms, but they were quietly discouraged from using certain facilities during peak hours. The pool, the beach club, the main restaurant, all had systems in place to keep black guests separated from white guests. Richard Morrison was fired 3 days after the incident. The hotel claimed it was an independent decision based on his violation of company policy. Everyone knew better. But the real change came when major black entertainers and athletes announced they would boycott the Fontainebleau unless it implemented real reforms. No more unwritten policies. No more quiet steering of black guests away from facilities. No more discrimination, period. The hotel, facing economic pressure and ongoing media scrutiny, agreed to comprehensive changes. New management, new training, a public commitment to equal treatment, an independent monitor to review discrimination complaints. And Muhammad Ali, who could have stayed anywhere, who could have avoided the Fontainebleau forever, made a point of returning the next year. With Layla, and they swam in that pool, together, while cameras documented it. Years later, Laila Ali, by then a professional boxer herself, undefeated in 24 fights, was asked about that day at the pool. "I was 8 years old," she said. "I didn't fully understand what was happening. I just knew I wanted to swim, and this man was stopping me. I remember feeling confused, hurt, like I'd done something wrong even though I didn't know what. But then I remember my father picking me up. I remember him saying, 'You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. This man is the one who did something wrong, not you.' And I remember him jumping into that pool with me, fully clothed, just to make a point, just to show me and everyone watching that I belonged there, that I had every right to be there. That moment taught me something crucial," Layla continued. "It taught me that discrimination isn't about the person being discriminated against. It's about the person doing the discriminating. That there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with people who see my skin color and decide I don't belong somewhere." My father fought a lot of battles, in the ring and out. But the battles he fought for us, for his children, those were the ones that mattered most to him. He wanted us to grow up knowing our worth, knowing we belonged anywhere we wanted to be. And he was willing to make a scene, to confront hotel managers, to risk his own comfort to teach us that lesson. She paused. That day at the pool wasn't just about swimming. It was about dignity, about refusing to accept discrimination, about teaching me that I never have to shrink myself or apologize for existing. That's what my father gave me that day. That's what he gave all of us. The Fontainebleau incident became a case study in how discrimination persists in subtle forms, even after legal segregation ended. How policies and procedures can be used to achieve the same discriminatory results that explicit segregation once did. How children bear the psychological burden of adult prejudice. William Patterson, the man who'd spoken up at the pool, became an advocate for hotel and resort integration. He used his influence in Miami Beach's business community to push other establishments to examine their own practices. Mrs. Henderson started an organization called witnesses for dignity that encouraged people to speak up when they saw discrimination rather than looking away. Richard Morrison never worked in hospitality again. He gave one interview, years later, claiming he'd just been following orders, that he'd been made a scapegoat. He never acknowledged that those orders were wrong, that following them made him complicit, that his actions had hurt a child. The pool at the Fontainebleau still exists. It's been renovated several times, expanded, modernized. But there's a plaque now, near the entrance, that reads, "In July 1973, Muhammad Ali and his daughter Leila reminded us that dignity and access are not privileges, they are rights. May all who swim here remember that belonging is not conditional." And every summer, families of every race swim in that pool. Children play together without understanding or caring about the battles their parents and grandparents fought just to make that possible, which is exactly what it should be. Exactly what Ali wanted when he jumped into that water with his daughter. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply insisting on your right to exist in spaces that were designed to exclude you. Sometimes the most powerful protest is a father and daughter swimming in a pool. Sometimes the most important lesson is teaching a child that the problem isn't with them. It's with the people who try to make them feel less than. That's what Muhammad Ali did that day at the Fontainebleau. He didn't just swim with his daughter. He taught her, and everyone watching, that her presence was not up for debate, that her right to joy, to play, to swim on a hot summer day was absolute and non-negotiable. Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer who ever lived. But that afternoon in July 1973, he showed he was something more important. He was a father who loved his daughter enough to fight for her dignity, who refused to let prejudice dim her light, who jumped fully clothed into a pool just to prove a point. This is her world too. And nobody, not a hotel manager, not unwritten policies, not the weight of centuries of discrimination, gets to tell her she doesn't belong.